Well, hello, my name is DrFreeman, and I'm the Associate Director of the Fundraising School at the Center on Philanthropy at Indiana University. And happy to be here with you today to share a little bit on some tools for effective fundraising. Goal today is to provide some information that will help you strategize your fundraising efforts so you can be more effective and really think about which tools to deploy in which circumstances or contexts so that you can achieve your goals and support your mission. Um, we're going to do this through the ladder of effectiveness, which is a concept from the fundraising school that we will see in our courses if you've taken any. So it'll be a little bit familiar. If you haven't, it'll be hopefully something that'll be useful to you in your daily practice. The ladder of effectiveness, the idea behind it is that we've created a hierarchical order of the tools of fundraising based on their effectiveness in soliciting donors for support. And so the idea is that the higher up a tool is on the ladder, the more effective it is. And kind of one caveat I want to make with that is that it does not mean that those at the bottom are not effective at all. It simply means that they are less effective than those above. And you'll also notice that the ones at the top are much more personal in terms of the ways in which you're engaging your donors than the ones at the bottom. So that's important to understand too. So we get started at the very top of the ladder with personal face-to-face solicitation. Nothing beats sitting down with your donor and having a direct conversation with them. There are two ways to do this. One is in a team of two people, and if you do it in that way, we recommend that one person be a staff member and the other be a peer of the donor who is also a volunteer. And that allows a few things to happen as a part of the interaction. The staff is there to provide the technical expertise. They can answer those tough questions the donor might have, some of the more technical or logistical aspects about your mission or how a program operates. And then you have your volunteer there, who one is the link because they're a peer. So they are bringing in that personal dimension to the interaction. But then also, they have their own passion for your mission. They chose to affiliate with you, so they bring another level of credibility to the interaction. So when the two work together, many wonderful things can happen in that solicitation. It also gives you two sets of ears and eyes that are observing what's happening, and that can influence the dynamic of your solicitation as well. So whenever possible, we recommend that you bring two people to meet with your donors. If not, you can still have one person, that's fine. And whether it's the staff person or whether it's a volunteer or your executive, you just want to be sure that you are coordinating all of this if you are sending out individuals on their own. So at the very top of the ladder of effectiveness, we have personal face-to-face solicitation. Next, we have the personal letter on personal stationery. And the key here is the personal. In this kind of high-tech age with texts and tweets and other things and direct mail letters, we all know the difference in a personal communication. And you can tell when you're getting a personal letter from someone versus kind of a mass-produced one that's meant for a broader audience. The tone is different, the conversational style is different. So for the personal letter, peers are writing letters to the donors and asking for their support. One of the big keys with this to success is having the right follow-up. So if the prospect does not respond to the letter, then you might follow up with a phone call to check in and to see if they had any questions and to follow up on the solicitation. And so you can do this with or without the telephone follow-up, but either way, it's important to help support that solicitation. Again, a personalized letter written on personal stationery. Next, we have the personal telephone call. Again, this is where a peer is picking up the phone and calling upon donors who might be friends, family members, business associates, colleagues, etc. And again, using that personal relationship to establish the connection and invite them to participate in your mission by giving. Again, here, just as with the personal letter, follow-up is critical. So you'll want to be sure that you are following up with necessary information, or you may even send a letter as a follow-up to reflect what happened over the phone call, or you may use email as well to do this. But the key here is, again, following up. You ask them for the support and then see what their response is, and then help to close the gift through your follow-up activities. Now, these first three, again, are at the top of the ladder. They are very personal, and it's very common to see them used as a part of major gift solicitation, capital campaigns during that silent phase where you're trying to secure your leadership gifts. You can also use these as a part of plan giving when you're having conversations with donors about the various vehicles or tools that can be used as a part of their estate planning. They're also effective in your annual fund for those personal solicitation aspects that you might be using, in addition to mail or phone or other things that we'll get to a little bit later down the ladder. Next, we have the personalized letter or internet. And in this case, by internet, we mean email. Using a letter or an email to upgrade, renew, or increase your support from your donors. This is a way to reach larger numbers of individuals, but again with a message that's tailored and reflects the status of your relationship with them. They've already given to your organization perhaps, so you're renewing them, or even if they are new, you're attempting to use these tools to reach out to those audiences. So you want the tone of the letter to reflect that as well. Following this, we have telephone solicitation or phone-a-thon. And we distinguish this rung of the ladder because you're having people inside your organization make the phone call. And this can be very effective, the idea of the phone-a-thon. So it may be your staff who are calling, it may be your board volunteers. Universities are known for using students to make these kinds of phone calls to alumni. So organizations can have success with this type of tool, again, by using people inside the organization to make those calls. They may not be peers of the prospective donors, but the fact that they're affiliated with the organization also brings a level of credibility that's difficult to recreate in other circumstances. Next, we have the impersonal letter, or direct mail, or internet, again, using email. In this instance, this is the kind of the broadly produced, mass-produced, mail-merged letters or e-blast that you might send out, again, to a large number of supporters. This is good for reaching a large number of people over wide distances, because if you have several thousands of donors that you want to solicit, it's not realistic or cost-effective to try to personally solicit each one. But you can send them letters or emails or other means that can connect with them, introduce them to your mission or share some information and make the solicitation. And your response rates will come back and show those who chose to respond positively. And then you can follow up and engage them later on through renewing or upgrading their support. Next, we have impersonal telephone and telemarketing. This is where you will employ an external vendor to make calls on your behalf. You'll work with the company to develop a script. You'll talk with them about what you want to ask the donors for, and then they make the calls on your behalf with your permission. Organizations have had success in using this tool effectively, again, to reach large numbers of people that you just can't effectively get to in front of face-to-face or personally. And again, you want to be mindful of the vendors that you select, what are their costs and their fees for performing these services, and how much of that money is actually coming back to you. There have been some challenges with this in the past in terms of some vendors keeping more than reasonable percentages as a part of providing the service. You want to be sure you do your due diligence and find a vendor that will work with you and provide a meaningful return, so your donors will know that you're using good, valid vendors and that their money is coming to support your mission. Next, we have the fundraising benefit or special event. And we're getting near the bottom of the ladder, and sometimes it's alarming for people to see the special event so low on the ladder. But it's there for a particular reason. Events can indeed be effective in raising money for your organization, but also we know that events are very labor and time intensive. We can spend a lot of time putting them together, spending months of planning and implementation, and even when we use volunteers, sometimes managing those volunteers or handling the other administrative aspects of the event can consume a lot of time and resources indirectly. So in the end, when you add up the direct costs and some of the indirect costs, your event may not have raised as much money as you initially thought. And with that said, we're not saying discontinue your events. We're saying just recognize how you're going to use them. Fundraising is one use, but they're also good for educating people about your mission, for celebrating success stories and celebrating the mission, for stewarding donors and sharing the examples of philanthropy that are helping to uh, invigorate your mission. So it's important to recognize their role and how you deploy them, but don't rely on them solely to achieve your entire budget. There are very few organizations that are raising their entire budget through events. You want to think about how they fit together with what the things you might be doing online or with phone or through personal solicitations. Door-to-door canvassing is another tool. You don't frequently see that here in the United States, but there are some organizations that use it. It is more common in places like Europe and other places overseas, but this is where you're literally stopping people on the street and asking them for support. Generally, people will pick very busy or highly traveled areas such as a downtown location or perhaps a transportation hub like a subway or train station, and you're walking up to people and trying to quickly, within a few moments, interact with them and educate them about your mission. Or you may also be going into neighborhoods and just simply knocking on doors. Again, it can be a way to try to reach larger numbers of people, but think about some of the other tools and if there are better or more effective ways to reach out before you move to the door-to-door strategy. And lastly, we have media, advertising, and or internet here. And you could include some of the various social media tools here as well. This is where we're talking about those, again, the mass level, broadly produced advertising or media that you could use, such as billboards or commercials or public service announcements, newspaper advertisements, online advertisements. So you have a single message that's being broadcasted to a very large audience over a particular period of time, whether that's a 30-second spot or whether that's the billboard on your busiest highway in your location. This can be good, again, for hitting those large numbers of people, but also you're not sure who that message is resonating with, even though you are getting a lot of exposure. So when it comes to generating dollars, it may not be as effective as some of the means that we've talked about already. So again, think about how you want to deploy them and what's the best use. Along with that, I'm going to close with looking at social media, and you're aware of the various tools that are available. Many people are using Facebook, Twitter, some of the blogging sites and others to generate buzz and information about their organizations. We always challenge organizations to think about their social media strategy very carefully. It's very common to see in the media a success story of an organization that's doing very well on Facebook or Twitter or some event that came off very well because it also used a social media strategy. But also for every one of those that you hear, there are dozens of others, perhaps even hundreds of others, that didn't do so well. So we're still very much early in the stage of really understanding how social media can impact fundraising. And as these anecdotes continue to develop, we also have some research reports that are starting to come out that are looking at levels of effectiveness. So we're not prepared to fully adapt the ladder of effectiveness yet because we don't have a strong research base to do it yet in terms of which channels are most effective. But we do have some suggestions. The first is that remember that fundraising requires implementation of specific principles and techniques. And bad fundraising in the real world will translate into bad fundraising online. And so before you automatically jump in, we want you to stop and be sure you're clear about your mission, you're clear about your goals, and clear about why you're raising money and what benefit will come from that. We also ask and remind you to think about who your audiences are. Are they using Facebook? Are they using Twitter? Are they using the bookmarking sites or some of the other peer-to-peer sites that might be of interest for this purpose? It's no use setting up a site on one channel if your constituencies are not attuned to it. So think about who your audiences are, what venues they might be using, and then think about how you can start developing your strategy there. And then as you take that information, think about what your specific calls to action are going to be. Are you thinking about using social media for fundraising, generating dollars? Or are you thinking about improving your volunteer ranks and engaging more people in volunteer service? Or maybe you want to engage in some advocacy or awareness campaigns. Again, there are different tools that can be appropriately used for these different types of goals. The key is for you to be clear on what your goals are so that you can appropriately deploy the right social media channel. So we hope that the ladder of effectiveness gives you a sense of how these different tools can be deployed and what they're good for. Many of them can be used as a part of your major gifts or capital campaigns or your annual fund. Particularly the more personalized ones will be almost exclusively used in major gifts and capital campaigns. And your annual fund will include some combination of all these. So you can think about your budgetary resources, your staffing and volunteer resources, as well as your time constraints as you select the tools that will be most effective and appropriate for you. And as always, we want to invite you to think about the Center on Philanthropy as a resource for your fundraising. We produce a lot of information that can help you day to day in your office and as you're interacting with your donors. Of course, there's training from the fundraising school, and we welcome you to check out our website and look at available course options that might be in your area. We also will come to your organization and conduct a more customized training based on your specific organizational needs. We also have academic programs in philanthropic studies. So if you're so inclined, you can now earn a college degree on multiple levels, the bachelor's, master's, and PhD level in philanthropy or fundraising to pursue these questions and ideas that are most important to you and that you're building your career on. We also have the Lake Institute on Faith and Giving, which looks at the role of faith or religion in philanthropy, and then the Women's Philanthropy Institute, which conducts research and training on the role of women in philanthropy. How do women make their decisions on which organizations to support? What kinds of messages resonate with them? So the Women's Philanthropy Institute looks at those kinds of questions and produces information that can help you when you're working with your female constituents. And of course, we conduct research. We're constantly releasing reports that can be available on our website that can look at trends in giving. We produce the Giving USA report each year, which comes out every summer and gives you the annual report on how much money was given by donors in the United States. And then we have other studies that look at high net worth individuals, corporate philanthropy, community foundations, family foundations. So again, I invite you to check out our website, www.philanthropy.iupui.edu, or give us a call at 800-962-6692 to see if we can be of assistance to you as you do the powerful work on behalf of your mission to make the world a better place. Thank you.